In one of the most craziest free agent frenzies we've ever seen, the Sharks got Finatical frenzied themselves. We'll break down the four people who the Sharks sign on a record free agent day right now on Teal Town Live. But of course, if you want to be part of the show, chat with us and fellow hockey fans all over the world in Sharks territory on the YouTube page or the app. Follow us on the socials. Find everything at teal10usa.com. And of course, you want to support the pod, hit us up on the YouTube super chat along with Venmo at teal10usa. With that, I say hello to a gal who's probably just, I don't know, how many cups of coffee have you had today?
I think it's more of how many shows I've done in the last 2 weeks because of this team.
That's why you love this team.
The answer is about 800. So I'm on my fifth one of the day, people. So if Jules doesn't survive this season, you guys can blame Hawkeye and AJ. There you go.
Thanks.
Anytime.
And Jules pulling out the Ricky Henderson third person stuff. All right, very nice.
Looking a long day.
looking for on the chat so far. Richard Perez, Big Money Mike cooking.
He is cooking.
Yeah.
And everyone's freaking out over dumb reasons on Twitter.
Well,
I will get to my rant in a second.
Gotcha. Falcon Strike 21 Greer is so much better than the Wilsons.
Okay, hold up, Falcon. Hold up. Hold the fuck up. Wilson did well. It was just the ending wasn't great.
Fair. That's a fair point. I mean,
Wilson did fine. Just the ending is pretty questionable.
Right. Ramon Garcia, I feel bad for LeMake. His Wikipedia page wasn't even updated that he was a UFA. Oh, damn.
Chester.
Hello, Shark.
I didn't say that, but
I am the greatest of all time. Oh boy.
No, that's Ian.
Landy! Good to see you, buddy. I am excited to see the Sharks are being a little more methodical in its free agent.
There's logic to their free agents.
Yes.
And I appreciate logic.
Deku, My Hero Academia. Are the Sharks right shot D?
From what Greer said, it sounds like he needs a right D. There was just no term he felt comfortable signing today.
Yeah.
That's how I understood it. So I'm pretty sure they're going to just give it some time because I think we saw the terms that went out today. We all think the Wennberg contract was bad. Mr. Mike Greer could have signed Chandler Stevenson to 7 years, $6 million.
It was crazy. It was a record-breaking day. I believe over $1 billion. Wait, sorry, excuse me. $1 billion worth of contracts. It's like Dr. Evil and John Shorthouse at the same time. Went out today on a crazy free agent frenzy. I think I fed it to you guys on the earlier show that was over $750 million were signed for the first day.
Yep.
Or the first hour of free agent frenzy. That was nuts.
That's indeed a record.
Yes.
Has to be. Yeah.
So let's get to the signing that began at 8 a.m. and didn't get announced till about 2:55.
There was no tampering done at all. I just want to say the free agents this year did not tamper at all. Stamkos, the minute he woke up, he already had that 8x8 ready to go in Nashville. No tampering.
Right, no tampering at all. There was no tampering whatsoever. Okay, sorry. At this rate, Sharks might get mistaken for a competent franchise. Oh wow, and yet the Bay Area, will still not recognize its existence as a Bay Area sports franchise, unfortunately, from the media.
Never.
So let's get it going. Bob, hello from Fairfield. Say hey. Let's hear where everybody's chatting at us from. We usually have a we've usually always had a worldwide show. So let's get the where you're seeing us tonight. But first we'll get to the Tyler Toffoli signing.
Who?
Yeah, that guy. Probably one of the biggest fishes the Sharks have ever caught on free agent day one. Obviously 4 years, $6 million AAV, as we learned from the press conference that myself and Jules were listening in on Zoom, a full no move clause. for Tyler Toffoli. Of course, we know him from his LA Kings days. He won that cup he shouldn't have won in 2014. Then has bounced around the last 5 years. He was traded to the Canucks right before COVID hit, and then he signed with Montreal, played in a cup final with them. Then he was shipped off to Calgary for a little over a year. He was with the Devils at the beginning of the year, so he was with Timo Meier early on, as the Devils were sought after to go for it big. But he ended up being a Winnipeg Jet before he took off to San Jose. No pun there. Okay, whatever.
There you go.
33 goals, 22 assists, 55 points for Toffoli. I hate to use a big fish, but this was a big fish that they got today, Jules.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I can't wait for the 70 line.
So funny story, and she's talking about Celebrini, Toffoli, and Eklund. Let's remember that he was on that 70s line in LA years ago. I think it was Tanner Pearson and
I don't remember.
Jeff Carter, I believe. They all wore 70s. So there's that. I was texting with the VP of marketing, Doug Bentz, is like, so when are we having 70s night? And he came back to me and said, you want to break up the Lund line? How dare you?
I mean, okay, so here was my thought all along, that if Celebrini signs, the Sharks should immediately pair him with Eklund and not even look back. Like, I love the Lund line. I've been dying for Eklund, Celebrini, and I just always said, sign a competent free agent. Toffoli fits that mold perfectly, because you have a little bit of everything. And we're getting to that contract that everyone seems to be freaking out about for no apparent reason. But like, it's the perfect combination of, skill, youth, and like olderness. And yeah, I can't wait for the 70 line.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Do you mind if I bring in another voice?
Go for it. Is AJ
right.
joining us? Landy? Jerk?
Mm-hmm.
Jerk? Do we have Jerk on?
No.
Drum roll.
We'll keep it a surprise when we get them in here.
I don't even know who it is.
So that's never thought LA Kings legend Tyler Toffoli would be a Shark, but here we are. It's really surprising. But what did you think of the of what he was saying about being a good guy in the locker room? I mean,
I love
he's 32 years old.
No, Puckeye is really teasing more than Jonathan Becker did last night.
Hey, where do you think I got it from?
No, I mean, dude, he said all the right things, and he wants to come play in San Jose because of Macklin Celebrini. I think we got to make this known to the public. Like, one, they have the same agent, which is really funny to me, but two, like, free agents are now going to want to come here because of a guy like Celebrini, because of a guy like Smith, because you have two very young elite centers. Like, there's a crazy graph going around. Like, the Sharks have like 3 of the top 10 scorers in the NCAA since, like, forget the year or whatever. But like, yeah, I mean, great signing, and I'm not mad about it.
No.
But like, yeah, he's gonna be a great guy for Celebrini. He's gonna be amazing for Will Smith. I think Greer wanted to add more scoring, and you got that in Toffoli, and Celebrini is gonna be setting up Toffoli, and it's gonna be amazing. And so will William Eklund, and we're all gonna love the 70 line.
And even if it isn't Celebrini, maybe it is Will Smith, or it's Logan Couture or something like that. It can be a huge.
Wennberg. Like,
we're getting there. We're getting there.
I know everyone hates him already, but like, chill.
But yeah, we okay. Well, let's bring it down. Let's chill the Wennberg, hate. I get why, but
I will make everyone feel better.
Yes, but I love how there is such the Toffoli was with Goodrow in Connecticut and everything, and it was pretty crazy to see. They've been added. Oh,
Landy!
Rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated.
How's your 2.5 month vacation been?
Yeah, how was it, Landy? How many shows have you done? Where have you been?
Well, I got out of the cave that I was dug in and happened to be watching draft day, and just been following along with our
I
little boys
I
there
have to
going on.
ask
Oh my
Landy.
God.
I have
Well,
to ask Landy, what do
draft
you think of the Sharks
draft
draft?
eligible boys, we'll call them
That
that way.
sounds so wrong, but what do you think of the Sharks draft?
Honestly, one of the stronger drafts in recent franchise history. I mean, I think outside of the Marlowe draft, where there was so much that was acquired during that draft, whether it be Stewie or whether it would be Patty himself. I mean, there
Right.
were quite a few out of that draft, and I think that this draft is akin to that. But I also think that the team had a really good draft last year. So I think this team is a little bit ahead of, kind of where that 97 draft class team was as far as rebuilding and having a good mixture of youth and a good mixture of stuff coming in the pipeline versus veterans that are I think today they did a good job on getting veterans that are still serviceable. They might not
Mhm.
necessarily still be in their prime, but at least they, can still bring it with a level of play that can back up their stories of, hey, this is how you prepare, this is how you engage with the fans, or this is how you conduct yourself off the ice, this is the type of work ethic that you need to put in. So I think that they're doing a good job of striking that balance. I I will be honest, I would have liked for them to maybe have made a run at a Stamkos or another sought after free agent where they could really solidify behind him. Now
Right.
the term that's Steven got, I don't think is necessarily going to work in the plan with San Jose, but
No.
a player of that ilk where you really can see a superstar in the way that he presented himself and the way that he conducts himself and can rub off further down the lineup on a William on a William Eklund or on a Will Smith or on a Celebrini. But I tell you what, I think the whole fan base needed a rejuvenating type draft.
Big time.
This was
I
definitely it.
yeah.
This
And
was
I think that this one generated a lot of interest, and I think that this one will certainly help the rebuild insofar as rebuilding the fan base's kind of eroded confidence. And I think it will also pay dividends on the ice, where it will really um, increase a pool that was already starting to deepen. I think we'll just give it even more, because when I think of the guys that um when I think of the guys that have been drafted that aren't shoe in kind of first or second liners, I
Right.
think of guys like Quentin Musty or Cagnoni or other prospects that you know were kind of seen as the next best thing after Wilson's tenure and kind of strip mining the farm system. And so you have all of that crop of players, but then you also augment it with a crop of players, I think, in this draft that strike a good balance between having a very high floor, meaning they're not going to be players that are going to be misses, but also having a couple of boomer bust picks as well. I think of Igor Chinyarnov or I
Easy for
Chernyshov.
you to say.
Chernyshov.
Chernyshov?
There we go.
Yeah.
And I think of a player that you're taking a little bit of a flyer on, but at where he was drafted at great value, because he could really turn into a player that could get a nose for the net. And so again, I think that they've just really augmented a base that was good and augmented it with even better players. Because I think of Muka Banul and I think of Cam together and being a great 1-2, and again further down the lineup, you're just getting more organizational depth. So
I mean, Well,
I was
like you
reading
look
all
at
these
it, yeah.
comments. Yes.
I mean, you look at a guy like Leonis Wallenius, who is like probably does have a future in the NHL, but like really high upside if he hits, but also has a high floor. Or like Carson Wench, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Someone will yell at me if I'm wrong. The guy, what is his name? That's not his name, but Carson, the guy Carson, whatever his last name is, who's just going to be a really good NHL fourth liner. So they drafted a variety, and then you have Sam Dickinson, who
Sam.
God knows how the fuck he fell to the Sharks. I'll never understand Ottawa, but yeah.
I mean, and I think Sam Dickinson, we kind of, I think everybody was thinking either that or Steve Boyum, and people will say that the Sharks went with the safer of the two picks, but I think of it as the Sharks took the more complete player. I feel that Dickinson's all around game translates a little bit better to what San Jose wants to do on the back end versus a Steve Boyum who might need to hone his defensive acumen, because I think if we analyze the types of players that Greer has gone after, there's one of two kind of profiles that I see: either a high potential scoring forward who has got a lot of tools for finishing, or a more defensively or a 200-foot player who's a little bit more defensively aware. And I feel like we're getting that mixture between those two types of players. And I think you can also hone in on size being a real factor with this.
Look at the draft class. There's
There's
like 6-7 kids getting drafted. Like Ian said, what are they feeding these children? But also, like, you look at the free agents they signed, right? They signed Toffoli, who's a proven goal scorer, can score, and then they signed Wennberg, who is more of like defensively responsible. I know he doesn't put up numbers, but the Sharks defense sucked last year. Now we can blame the defensive core, but we can also blame the system. But yeah, Williams also still pretty good defensively. But whatever. But my point is that, I think the way Greer's building this team is that they kind of are starting to get built. I see a little bit of Florida in them, where they're not necessarily going to beat you with speed. They're just going to crush you until you have nothing left. And they're going to like play kind of boring hockey, to be honest with you, if I'm being real.
So I think it's interesting that you bring up Florida, because it has shades of LA, circa the 12 and 14 years, where it was a really good balance between a defensively aware team and a team that had enough firepower to get them through in the Stanley Cup playoffs to where they could win a cup. I still think that the team needs to address some depth at wing. I think that's still something
right wing, especially.
Yeah,
right wing. Yeah,
right wing, especially. Their left wing is set with guys like Eklund, Musty, and Chernyshov. But their right wing has Zetterland, Cardwell, question mark, but we don't know what his NHL future holds. And like, I can't now Toffoli, but like right wing, boys, right wing, and right D. Let's find more righties in general.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the golden unicorn, right? For
Mm-hmm.
for defensemen, is the right-handed right shot defensemen, which are very, very select and few. So yeah, I mean, it's always good to have extra defensemen and trying to take some flyers, but again, I think that they've put themselves in a position to be better than they were last year. I think that there's some real excitement for the caliber of prospect that it's now coming up.
I mean, this is the best pool in the league. Like, I would argue that.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, because with what we picked in the last two drafts, plus and like Dark Knight Debt 24 saying, imagine we get another top 15 pick from VGK with that mass exodus from Vegas today. It's gonna be quite interesting. Even Chester Tivo, we might get a top 10 from Vegas. It could be an amazing turn if Vegas does fall apart, which, let's be honest, folks, if they ever fallen apart, except maybe that 1 year with Bordelot kind of ruining their playoff vibes.
Fun time. But no, I think like I don't know. I really like what Greer's doing. Like our sixth or seventh best prospect might be Muka Madulin. Like when you reach that point, who's still a first round pick, mind you, he was selected 20th. And that's our like arguably like seventh best prospect. Like Edstrom is probably our eighth best prospect at this point. Like I don't know. I really like the prospect pool. I think having Musty as your fifth best prospect is not really fair. And when you have like arguably the two best players in the NCAA this year as your 1-2 punch, like yeah, I mean, Sharks have a good pool. We should.
Yeah, it's very good. You have more coming, but you like you said, kind of getting back to free agency here with Toffoli. I mean,
one guy that we kind of do miss on, and I think it'd be interesting to come up next year is Matthias Havlet. I think he's a right-handed right shot guy that I am very interested.
When does his contract expire in Sweden?
I think he has 1 year left.
Okay. I mean, because since he was from the SHL, he can't play in the AHL till he's 24. So
Right.
he would basically just have to make the Sharks. I don't know. I haven't heard much with Havlet. I think he had a rough year, but maybe anything's possible.
Yeah.
That I just did a school reference. I'm so sorry. Anyways.
But I mean, it's that's right. There's a lot of prospects coming up that we haven't really talked about. Remember
No, because it's so deep.
It's so deep. You know, like we talk about what was it? I think Max Miller put out like his top 10 prospects, and you push down, you know, Luca Cagnoni down. I think he put down
to like
to
9.
Yeah, because it's totally the, you know, you see Dickinson and it's like, oh my goodness, you know, this guy's got, you know, might be a little more NHL ready, and with his height and size, you know,
it's a prospect right now.
so
it's
you know,
not even close.
So
speaking of defense, we signed Alex Wennberg.
And we forgot, you know, Barclay Goodrow's on the roster too. I mean,
right.
So there's another, yeah, exactly, right. There's another winger that you know adds a little bit of snarl, and you know, I wouldn't be opposed to having Celebrini flanked by, you know, a Barclay Goodrow and maybe, you know, a Carl or an Eklund.
Landy, repeat that line for me for a second. Hold up. You want a line of, I should make sure I heard this. Goodrow, you want to put Goodrow with Celebrini.
Yeah, just how they saddled up Chloe with Logan very early on in his career. Because
I didn't think about that is smart.
Because
to like protect him, I'm guessing.
Exactly, because that was something that was very I think Wilson very much clued in on a lot of teams taking advantage of Logan in the face-off circle, you know, taking advantage of Logan's, you know, smaller stature. And so they had him playing with Chloe at the very beginning of his career. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Greer takes that kind of approach where he puts someone with a little bit more of a physical edge and who can still be at least a semi-scoring, you know, type of winger, somebody who can at least, you know, knows what to do with the puck in front of the goaltender. And
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, saddling it up with a little bit more beef.
I mean, the thing that scares me is that he's not going to be able to finish whatever Celebrini puts at him, because Celebrini, like with Celebrini, he just thinks the game at a different level. Not saying Goodrow doesn't have high hockey IQ. I'm just like, we saw Eklund this year dish to Kunin about 118 times. And how many times did Kunin finish it? Like 5? That would be my concern with pairing him up with Goodrow.
I mean, I could see him. I could see Goodrow. I could see Celebrini and Tyler Toffoli being on the line.
That's what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be Celebrini, Toffoli, and then Eklund on the other flank.
That's 70s line. Okay.
That's I know it is 70s line, and I'm saying we should. I love Goodrow. I don't think he's going to finish any of Celebrini's passes.
So
Costin is another one that'd be fun with Macklin. If you want someone who could protect, why not get the giant forward?
That is an interesting one too. Indeed, for the there's so many.
This is just turning into Landy and I doing like line combinations.
But I mean, honestly though, that's such a better place than we were at the
A year
end
ago.
of this. No, I mean just at the end of the season,
Yeah.
and where we are today, where there's just so much of a rejuvenating effect that the draft had,
Right.
and I think it does give us the ability to start kind of thinking about where things go in the lineup. I mean, we haven't even talked about Will Smith and where he's going to be integrated in the lineup.
You're teasing to a segment we're going to do just a little bit later, my friend. But
I meant to do that.
Also, Tiger, we are not bringing up Artem Guryev. If Artem Guryev cracks the fucking Sharks roster this year, that means something has gone horribly wrong, and we should send Sobrini and Smith back to college. I say that jokingly, but we're not calling up Guryev, please. No.
So,
anyways,
we yeah, Bremp, I somehow forgot about Ryan Clough until this moment. What have you? Absolutely, and a great singing voice. It's beginning to get a lot more chippy. Yes. So we talked about Toffoli. In fact, when he was talking to the press, including us, he was saying he was in Connecticut with Barclay Goodrow, and he couldn't gush more about San Jose on that. So that's
they have the same agent. I've said that.
yeah, it's the same agent along with Mac Daddy. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shapes out.
No, they're different ages. Barkley's 31 and Tyler's 32.
Yep. We'll get to the other signing that happened just as the presser was about to start. Alexander Wennberg, and my God, you are like a freaking male model. My goodness. 2
He's the
years.
best looking man on the Sharks now, right? Maybe besides Eklund.
I would say he beats Eklund by far. I can't show this to Amanda because then I might be on I might be in trouble. Anyways,
couch.
Yeah, no, right. 2 years, 5 million AAV. According to Greer, he has some sort of partial no trade for the next 2 years. Originally a Columbus Blue Jacket. Pat, if you're watching, just saying.
Get the jersey.
Yes. He was with the Panthers during the weird COVID year. Was an original member of the Kraken until he got traded to the Rangers in the deadline. Did all right for the Rangers in their playoff run, but overall 10 goals, 20 assists, 30 points last year. Jules, what do you think of him? I mean, not necessarily a goal scorer, but he can contribute in multiple ways.
So before I get to that, I want to also clarify something. Greer also said that in his trade, the first year has more protection than the second year. And I'm going to tell you why. Burns' retention slot runs out after this year, which means during Wennberg's last year, the Sharks are going to have an open retention spot. Guess who they're going to bait like a fucking fish? Fucking Alex Wennberg, and they're going to use their retention spot on Wennberg. So for those saying it's a bad contract, they really only have to deal with it for like a year and a half, because I guarantee Wennberg's not finishing that as a Shark. You're going to get a good, responsible backup Couture is what I'm going to call him, because
but the other thing too, though, is, I mean, we got a salary floor to deal with here, right?
I mean, that already.
Yeah, we're good now.
No, but I mean, like, this is something that I think I would love to see the payroll kind of slot in the bottom third still. That's kind of still where I think that the payroll needs to be, and so I'm not opposed to a few malarkey type contracts if it keeps the floor, if we don't have to really worry about the floor, and we still have the ability to sign a contract here or there. I mean, there's no reason why they should be holding 50 contracts. They need to be able to have a little bit of maneuverability, and I'd also love to still see them weaponize the cap a little bit more, come trade deadline, if let's say that they're not competing for a wild card spot.
I mean, they only have 4 guys left to sign, and they still have 16 million in cap.
Right.
And by the end of this year, you have guys, what's his face? Jesus, why am I blanking? You have Granlund, who I'm assuming is getting traded at the trade deadline. You have Cunnin, Kostin, Sturm, Zetterlund you have to pay. So you have to pay Zetterlund and Kostin. But you have a lot of guys coming off the books. And then again, Burns' retention spot comes out of the books. Anything else comes off the books? The Rudolph Bolster. Oh, no. Yeah. But they're not in a bad spot cap wise. I'm not worried.
Yeah, they've let me pull it. I thought it was
Ducks
gonna
didn't do shit today. So
Oh God, hell! I mean, freaking Bruce Boudreau was on NHL Net, or no, he was on TSN, just going off on Pat Verbeek and everything. It's like, wow.
they still have
Somebody's
20
bitter.
million in cap space. I don't know what they're doing.
So, but I mean, Wennberg looks like a nice piece. You re-up Luke Cunningham, you have Justin Bailey. I mean, you throw in Ty Dellandrea along with Carl Grunstrom.
Yeah.
We have a really deep forward group all of a sudden. Jesus.
I mean, they're in good shape all around. Landi, then there's the defense, which I think they're still trying to look and see if there's something out there at the right price for them, though.
Yeah, I mean, with the defense, it's a little interesting, right? Because I think that they've got two kind of age groups worth, right? I mean, they have the younger kids, which would be, and I say this, quote unquote, because Wallman's 28, right? But they have Wallman, you've got Ferraro, you've got Thrun, and then if Mukhamadullin makes the jump, you have him. And then you've got, Jan Ruda, you've got Ferraro still, you've got Benning,
Right.
and so they're gonna have to make some room. I think they're gonna have to make some room somehow to get Thrun back into the mix. And I would take Thrun over Jan Ruda at this point. I mean, what's he really providing?
So, do we see Jan Ruda traded before the start of the season?
Oh.
Do we see Matt Benning traded? Now, granted, it's a right-hand D, but maybe Greer goes for a right D swap. I don't know why you would do that, but the Sharks got more beautiful with the Wennberg signing. Like, I'm curious because there's now kind of a log jam in both the forwards and the defensemen.
Right. And it's not a good type of logjam where people have displaced others. It's kind of like the lesser of two evils type of logjam,
Right.
where there's not really a clear-cut answer. I mean, the first answer would be somehow to get Marc-Edouard Vlasic off the team, but that's not going to happen at this point.
Unless he chooses to retire, which unless they buy him out, and I really don't think the Sharks need to buy out Mark like Pickles. Like, he's most likely gonna, from my lineup predictions, he doesn't even make the starting lineup or like the top 6.
I mean, he would be the 7th in my lineup.
Same.
I would have him as the 7th defenseman.
Hank Vesuvius already trying to get ahead for next season. Save some cap space for Draisaitl next year.
I saw a tweet somewhere, and I don't know how reliable this source is, but I saw a tweet being like, at the draft party, the people in the organization seem to think it's a really high possibility that the Sharks are landing Draisaitl next year.
And I think the idea
tampering
behind that is because the ownership is, Hasselplattner, and him being German, there's a natural connection to Leon and German hockey. Go ahead.
Damn it. Why didn't they name Marco Sturm head coach? Come on. What are we doing? No, I like Warsaw too. I'm sorry, Landy. Go ahead.
No, I think it kind of goes to show you though that connections in this league are everything. And Leon, I honestly don't know what the barometer is over there right now, because I think it's so the sting of defeat is still there, and it's
early.
It's very early. There's not a GM in place, so you don't really know what they're thinking as far as personnel goes. And to be quite honest, I mean, I think you start to see a little bit of fracture amongst Connor and Leon and what the rest of the team are doing with them. And there could be some friction of, hey, look, I've been here for the better part of 6 seasons,
yeah,
and I haven't, I've come so close to winning a cup, but you haven't necessarily given me the tools to reach that. And
I will
I
say they had a really good free agency today.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they did well. I mean, I liked what Chicago did. I think, I think Chicago.
I have questions with Chicago. I feel like they're rushing it just a wee bit, but we'll
I
see.
I agree, but when you have someone of Bedard's pedigree,
True.
I think you want to try and surround him as quickly as possible.
Yep.
So you gotta you do have to balance, losing with the fact that this is as Bedard is going, it's a declining asset,
Mhm.
right? So, and really he's going to come into his prime in 2 years, I would say, is when we get peak Bedard. So, it's going to happen sooner rather than later to have to try and surround him with some players.
Yeah.
Chivo saying, the Sharks could very well be in the top half of the Pacific next season. Ducks, Flames, Kings, and Vegas might be worse than us.
If the Sharks make the playoffs, I'm genuinely gonna be like, what the fuck is it? The Sharks are not finishing top in the Pacific, guys.
Jules, that was the one thing I was going to do in Vegas, was try to find a sports book just for shiggles after winning some money on those wonderful Wheel of Fortune slots, and just put like maybe a 20 down, like the Sharks make the playoffs.
If the Sharks make the playoffs, I will.
And I know I'm going crazy here, and you couldn't, by all means, tell me I am.
If the Sharks make the playoffs, I will show up in a Grinch mask for all of their playoff games. Like, I don't care. That's not happening.
Well, I mean, let's look at the Pacific Division, though. I mean, the Flames, I think are going to start the bottom, starting the bottoming effects.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
they're kind of looking down the crest here.
Right.
The Ducks have had one good draft, one meh draft, and now another meh draft, and doesn't seem to be a lot of impetus to either get better players or to integrate the players a little bit more successfully that they do have. So I question, where they're at. So I think that those are two, you could look at those two teams as the Sharks being more competitive against those two teams. I don't think, I think Vegas is on the cusp. I think, we saw how they struggled kind of at times during the year and didn't have that dominant form of hockey. So I think that they would be kind of on the cusp of competing for a playoff spot. So could the Sharks leapfrog them? I don't know. I don't see it. I just see
Not
that
with that defense.
not with the defense, and quite frankly, not with the center depth as far as having a little bit more experience. And you look at the experience on Vegas' center depth, and I like it a little bit better than I do on the Sharks, right? Because I mean, Will Smith and Celebrini are going to be two new guys, at the pivot, and they're gonna be seeing some really stiff competition.
Yeah.
So it's
They're
kind of
gonna have
hard.
a development curve. Like it's not gonna be smooth sailing for either Smith or Celebrini. I still think Celbrini's gonna have a little bit easier of a path. Just because Smith, again, there's some things you just got to figure out you can't do that. But like, will they both be up for the Calder? I think Celebrini for sure will be. Smith probably as a PP merchant. But yeah, I think I think the Sharks are still bottom half. I don't think they finish on top of Vegas. I don't think they finish on top of the Kings, even though I don't like what they did today.
Exactly.
But
I'm with you there.
I think Anaheim, Calgary, and San Jose are going to lovely battle of who can be the shittiest. David Quinn thinking, how come because the Sharks needed to tank for 2 years in order to have this prospect pool. Like, it's kind of how those things go. And David Quinn was unfortunately the victim of that. But now he's in Pittsburgh, who's also shit. So sorry, David Quinn.
Yes. No,
I just wonder, what the expectation is for the team next year as far as like internally. I'd just be curious to know where they see themselves in the development curve versus where we kind of see them in the development curve, because I see them, taking, a half step forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what my barometer is of this coming year. So, if we can get out of, let's say if we finish above 25th, that would be a good, a good successful season to me.
Yeah, I think at least getting to 25 wins is
25,
ideally a goal, and to be competitive. None of this 7-1 drubbing, none of this 9-1 loss to Edmonton near the end of the year. Not to mention the 2 10 goals allowed games back in November.
that was so much fun.
I mean,
Um,
it's oh lordy, the three of us just had a blast doing all those after darks.
Here's
Oh
my
my
question: what do we expect out of Rosovsky in his first year with such an interesting lineup? Like Rosovsky got dealt a way better hand than Quinn ever was dealt. What do we expect out of him? Like
I think
that's
he's
my
gonna have
question.
to. I think he's gonna have to prove to me that he can develop a defensive system that isn't Civ like.
That's what I want
Like
to get. Yeah.
that to me is the biggest indicator of success. I think his goals against average and goals against for the year will be a barometer of where he's at as a coach. Because I don't necessarily worry too much about the offense. I mean, most players like playing in the offensive zone, and Celebrini can do things in the offensive zone, and Smith can, and Eklund can, and they're going to have some bigger bodies to throw
Yeah.
around,
Right.
Down low. So I don't necessarily worry too much about the offensive part of the game. It's so much as, can you defend in your own zone, and can you look competent in your defense of your own zone? Which
And
the last 3 years, they have not looked competent. And then I think the other thing that I look at is the first up pass going from the defensive zone through the neutral zone, those stretch type passes, those, crisscrosses, however you try to exit the zone. If you do that with confidence versus if you do that reluctantly, or if you get kind of chased by the other team to make a breakout, if they can dictate the first pass out of their own zone better than they did in the previous year, I think those are the two markers that I look at the most.
I think Jake Wallman will help with that. Again, we got him basically for free.
Yeah.
So
plus the second rounder.
plus the second round.
Yeah, that's the craziness on
I
there.
don't
But
know what
then,
Detroit's doing, but anyways.
but I mean, but you think about, okay, maybe, and I know we were kind of talking about it, on Discord, is like maybe Greer is up to something with trade wise. You look at Washington; they're way over the cap. I think they're almost at the
How many
off-season
defensemen
cap.
do they have?
They currently have 8 defensemen: John Carlson, Matt Roy, who they signed today, Jacob Trickern, who they got acquired right after the draft. Rasmus Sandin is a
Are they
UFA
good?
in
What the fuck,
2029.
Washington?
Trevor Van Riemsdyk, has 2 years left before he goes UFA. Ethan Bear is on his final year of his contract. And Lucas Johansson, but he's a Group 6 UFA. So it remains to be seen. They're going to have to make something.
Trevor Van Riemsdyk feels like a guy that's out the door.
Yeah, and that's the name that I first think of when you read off that list of a Greer type player. He seems like he kind of fits that mold.
Because he's a UFA. So he's a UFA. So he still has 2 years left at $3 million.
Yeah.
Maybe the Sharks, I mean, they need a right D. Like you can't, like Greer said he'd explore all the options, and maybe there's a swap there. Hey, you can take Trevor Van Riemsdyk, we'll give you one of our forwards. Don't ask me what forward. I don't know. I didn't think that far ahead. But I'm just saying maybe there's like a forward swap there. Like, I don't know who the Sharks want to give up, but like, yeah, you can piece that together how you want. But yeah.
I mean, can we live on a team where you have both Nico Sturm and Mikael Granlund starting out on the season, at the same time, when trying to add back Smith, Celebrini, and maybe Logan Couture?
If Couture, well, now you also have Wennberg. Like they have I love Nico Sturm. He's not finishing the year as a Shark, but they have a lot of guys now who can kind of play that role. So maybe you dispose of one of them, just not Granlund. Like you need Granlund at least until Celebrini is ready to take over Granlund's spot.
Yeah, and I think that Granlund is a good. I mean, he works very hard, and he's a guy that I would like to see, the kids emulate, because I think he's got a good work ethic, and I think
So
he's a good
Gumby.
and a good pro.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if, I mean, we haven't heard anything about Couture, and just don't know what's happening.
So he's supposed to start skating this month. So
Feel
we'll
like we've
see
heard
how
that
that.
a lot.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. That's
Cunning.
kind of
There you go, Trey Cunning.
Greer said earlier today. So it's going to be interesting to see what that happens. Now, that being said, and this is where I'm going to segue to the way too early portion of the program
Oh,
of and I asked Jules to put this together. If Couture is healthy, what this lineup could look like early on. And I know I can already hear some groaning that it's like, we're talking about line combinations in July. Well,
I
think
have
about it.
nothing better to do with my life right now. My rehearsals got canceled, so deal with it, people.
Yeah. So she's got going on Costin, Granlund, Zetterlund, Eklund, Celebrini, Toffoli. Oh, I spelled Toffoli wrong. Damn it. I blame Jules. For that 70s line redo. Wennberg, Couture, Smith. So you have 3 centers there.
Mhm.
Goodrow, Sturm, Cunnin on the 4th line, which actually is decent one. Strum, actually. Whoops. And of course, Delandria and Gunstrom being extras in here. Now, that's with Couture being healthy. You take Couture out, you maybe even take Celebrini out of there if he decides to go back to Boston University.
Oh, can we stop with that?
He's coming over, guys. We can chill on that.
I mean, look, given the option, you can either go and turn around a professional franchise, or you can go back to college and win a Frozen Four and have all of those accolades, versus being actually in the NHL as an 18-year-old. I think he's going to take being in the NHL.
And that's when you forgot to add on Jules'
So,
Colin Graff.
This is a hot take. I think he starts in the AHL. I didn't see enough from him at the end of the year to solidify as an NHLer. Like, mind you, Gushin or Bordelot are also probably starting in the AHL.
Yeah.
Like, the Sharks forward depth is kind of insane right now. Not necessarily in the best way, but they have a lot of guys there. Like, we're gonna protect Celebrini and Smith. But I don't see Graff starting in the NHL at the start of the year.
And Deku Couture is not ready. That's why Wennberg.
So yeah, I had
that's your insurance essentially.
The other one I think had it without Couture. Actually, I can
right
read it off. So the lineup without Couture would be Costin, Granlund, Zetterlund, Eklund, Celebrini, Toffoli, Delandria, Wennberg, Smith, Goodrow, Sturm, Cunnin.
Yeah,
so basically, the only thing that moves is Wennberg moves over, Delandria slides in instead.
That's still a pretty decent lineup, and the defense. Let me throw this back on here again, but the defense is looking. It's not.
It's not great, but it's also with the one line. I also don't see it getting separated. I just really want the 70 line because I think Eklund, Celebrini, Toffoli would be a pleasure for all.
It would be a great marketing ploy. Just putting it out there. But yeah, Emberson, Wallman, Mukamadulin, Ferraro, Benning, Thrun. I'm almost thinking that's going to likely be your lineup.
And on paper, it's better than last season.
Yeah.
And like again with that defense, it's young, but at least they can get the puck up. Like Kyle Burrows, Matt Benning could not get the puck up last year. Right. Like Kyle Burrows, Marc-Edouard Vlasic cannot get the puck up the ice. Like, give Mook a chance. I think we're good here. We can stop shedding him to the La La Land.
All we are saying, give Mookamoolan a chance. Okay, sorry. I know. I should have been doing this at the Taco Bell Cantina in Vegas, not now.
Oh, no, probably.
After your $65 frozen slushie that you got.
Listen, that was good vodka. That was some premium vodka. That was some elite vodka. That was like next level. Well, to be fair, I was standing there and I just started clicking buttons and I didn't process. I clicked on the premium vodka. So, That was my bad.
YOLO.
Yeah, right,
Exactly.
but of course, my girlfriend didn't stop
Didn't
me from it.
didn't
Or
stop me. Yeah, so it's Amanda's fault.
yes, hon, if you're listening,
Sorry.
but like Demi Lovato says, sorry, not sorry. But I digress. Moving on, but yeah, AO, this is a way better lineup than it was last season, at least on paper. It has balance. You let the kids do their thing. You have guys like Sturm, Grunstrom, Goodrow do their thing. Costin, it's a pretty decent lineup. And once these kids find their game, watch out.
Because then you
Yeah.
have more coming. Like, it doesn't even end with like Smith, Musty. Like, this is just Smith, Salbrini, Eklund, Zetterlund. Wait until you add Musty, Haltman, not Sharangovich, Trinishov, Carson. There's more coming. Trade Vlasic for. I don't think anyone is taking Vlasic's contract.
No one's. You're just gonna let that run.
Just again, once Vlasic is done, that's when the Sharks want to be competitive. If you look at how Mike Grier has structured the cap, once Vlasic is out of here, I guarantee you Sharks are gonna be a good team. Not guaranteed, but like that's the bet. What's up?
I want to mention this because Sheng has put it out earlier today too. Is that Igor Afanas? Okay, let me get it. Sure, that Afanaseyev is expected to sign a 2-year deal in the KHL.
Yeah, that was a rumor. With all the players the Sharks signed, he wanted an NHL role, and he was just not going to get it here. That's fine.
Yeah, he had a nice season with the AHL Milwaukee Admirals. But only 1 goal in 19 career contests. He's likely headed to Russia, so
it's fine. Again, he wanted an NHL position, and if he did not feel like he was going to get it, he was probably going to the KHL. And with the 1,000 men the Sharks have signed, he was not getting an NHL position. So there you go.
So a tough one indeed there. But speaking of KHL or minor leagues, whoops, my bad. The Kuda got some defense.
Kuda got better.
Kuda got better, and a Carlson is back. A defenseman Carlson is back with the organization. That's right. Lucas Carlson was signed by the Sharks. Considering this came from the Barracuda, most likely headed down with the 2-year contract and a 2-way deal on there. Let's not forget, Jimmy Schultz, 1-year, 2-way contract with the Sharks, most likely headed to the CUDA. Joe Will provides a defensive depth to the Sharks organization. His game is a perfect blend of an offensive production and defensive play. In the AHL, he has shown that he can play a high minutes, top lines. He was a top defenseman for one of the top teams in the AHL the past 2 seasons with Coachella Valley, who went back-to-back Calder Cup finals. So
it's kind of interesting. I mean, 21-22, he had 40 games up with the Panthers, and had nine points in 40 games for the Panthers in 21-22, and had a really good year with Checkers too last year.
Yeah, I like these signings. Listen, I think the Kuda's blue line might surprise people this year.
And let's be honest, with the injuries that have decimated this organization over the last 2 seasons, it's nice to have some depth defensemen, and they're 2-way contracts already, so that's always nice to have if you're in an absolute need to bring them up. But defensively, that's a nice pickup for the CUDA. Overall, I think that's somewhere they desperately need to help out their goaltending. Indeed, you're definitely going to have some goal scoring, and Jules, like you mentioned,
they're going to have Beasted, Raff, Gushin, Bordelot, Ho, maybe even Edstrom. I don't know the role with him yet. I don't know if he can come over, but he's a guy I would look out for to make the CUDA. If he can, watch me be so wrong because it's the SHL and I don't understand that agreement at all. You might have a guy like Holtman. He might crack the CUDA. You might have Cagnoni on the back. You're going to have Jake Furlong on the back end. You're going to have Jack Thompson for a full year. Like this, John McCarthy, I know gets a lot of slander, but I'm like partially convinced it might have been Quinn's system also messing him up. So I'm curious what he does under Rostovsky's system and how the CUDA, because again, remember AHL and NHL teams kind of function in the same system.
Right.
But yeah.
So.
Oh, and yeah, I'm also said Yegor Romashevsky will not be at the prospect scrimmage, but that prospect scrimmage is going to be fire. I'm
Oh,
really curious what they do there. That's my question.
it's gonna be fun. I know you're gonna be down there. Are you going down tomorrow too?
I will not be there tomorrow, but I will be there on the Wednesday. What day is it?
Wednesday, the 3rd,
Yeah, I'll
and
be there
then
on Wednesday in the morning,
and
then at the scrimmage itself. So
then the prospect scrimmage is at 11 a.m. on Thursday, 4th of July.
don't ask why.
Seats are don't ask why at all. Seats are still available if you're interested in. We will be on some form either during or definitely after the
So sorry if it's during, because I will be so chaotic.
I'll be watching it. What are you kidding me? Yeah, it'll be fun. I mean,
but yeah.
So-
Do we think they split up Smith and Celebrini, or do they go full chaos and put them together?
Split.
Split? Okay.
yeah, I would say split is probably better. Granted, I would love to have like if it was a what was it for Marlowe's jersey retirement celebration. Oh, we make a trade and then they're on the same team together, and then we tell the other team to purposely take a penalty so that way we can have Smith and Celebrini on the same power play unit.
No, literally.
Okay.
Because imagine they just roll with Smith, Celebrini, and Dickinson to open it.
Or well, heck, if they're getting Haltonen and Dickinson in town, I want to see this whole combination.
Oh
that
my
they
god,
had.
yeah. Dickinson, Haltonen, and then Celebrini. There you go. Give Smith like Cagnoni and like give him Musty. I'm sure Musty will try to run over Dickinson, and Dickinson is just not gonna budge.
So, Landy, when time are you flying up here?
Yeah, when are you flying up here? Let's go.
Yeah, right.
You have to be watching it though.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to be watching it for sure. I'm trying to think. I might need to be up in the Bay Area this week, but we'll see
All
for
right.
work. But
Well, I'm just saying, if you need to be somewhere 4th of July, you know where to go.
yeah, right.
Oh, Al,
Wait.
it's good to see you in the
wait.
chat, buddy. Our
So
Nice.
are we moving Goodrow to defense, and then he's our like fourth line right winger?
I mean, if it's not a Sharks roster without having a guy who can play forward if they're actually in
David
defense.
Quinn had a fetish for that shit.
But I mean, here's the other thing, though. The funny thing is that I mean, we had Burnsy, of course. What was it? Jim Vandermeer,
Jacob
McDonald. I mean, it continues the tradition.
Oh, wait a minute.
Forward?
Yeah,
and John Scott, come on now, the original forward defensive combination.
Oh my god.
Oh,
All right,
John
so you heard
Scott.
it here, folks. Vlasic is our fourth line right winger.
I think he can convert into being a slugger.
Oh my god.
No, Vlasic for goaltender.
Let's not get crazy there. No, if there's I know we're going off the rails here.
At least we're not talking about the ocean.
I mean, obviously, if there's a defenseman that's going to be a goaltender, isn't it obvious that it should be Mario Ferraro? I mean, he tries to block practically everything that comes at him.
He might be better as a goaltender.
Oh boy!
You know who might be an interesting convert would be Justin Bailey.
You're not wrong there, and again, a nice pickup for Bailey, who I thought had a great job.
Also, might be on the fucking CUDA. This 2 CUDA team is elite. I'm joking.
I mean, maybe. I mean, we had the wishful thinking, and I can already picture freaking Ian, Ian coming in, from a remote, from camping or somewhere. He's like, "Really? Did you just say really that the CUDA could be a Calder Cup contender?" I would just love some playoff hockey. All right, that's all I'm saying. I would love some playoff hockey. I haven't had it in 5 years. It's about time to get some sort of team playing some playoff hockey around here.
Never. Also, this is the first time we get to see David Edstrom. So
yes.
really interested in him. I'll take videos of all of that. Sounds bad. But I'll be there at one of the practices.
Oh my god.
Um,
Wow.
uh,
Wow.
to to
All
show.
right, first we started off with little boys. Now we're talking about.
Oh, Landy, you haven't even been in the freaking Discord the last few weeks. They're like, "Oh, we're watching footage of 17-year-old boy." Like, come on, guys. No. No.
I mean, it's also going to be really cool to see
No.
Beasted and Bordolo as well.
Yes.
Battle it out on the CUDA too.
And that's going to be a big thing too. So
Beasted, I feel, has a big year coming for him because it feels like that third line center of the future of the Sharks is really between Beasted and Edstrom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be like, which one of you? I think Edstrom is going to be their like shutdown center where if you ever get a goal out of him, you better win that fucking game. But yeah.
And don't forget Gannon LaRoque.
LaRoque?
You know why I say that is because I got LaRoque jersey. Jules
You
has
did.
the Beastet jersey. I'm just saying.
Hawkeye made the best trade of the year.
Okay, you need to cut. Okay, moving onward. In case you missed anything or you want to watch it again. No.
Yeah, Hawkeye made the best trade of the year.
I wasn't going to get a jersey
in my hand. I had a Daniel Gushin jersey in my hand. Hawkeye had a Philip Beasted jersey in my head, and we made a swap. Let me know in the chat who won that trade. And why does it start with a J and not a P?
All right. Puck guy, we're hitting that hour mark.
Yeah, I think it's time to go since, Jules is being mean to me. In case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher is listed down below. You can always find us at tealtownusa.com, of course. And if you want to check us out on the YouTube, hit that like button. Come on. We should have more than that right now. Hit that subscribe button because we will be live Tuesday for the schedule release. That's the one that AJ and I just love doing. And of course, hit that notification bell because if news breaks, like say they convinced Joe Pavelski to coming out of retirement, we will go live. And oh my goodness,
I'm sure that'll be a fun show.
We'll just when news breaks, we fix it.
Like we're just gonna let AJ handle it by himself because I mean he is gonna be so excited if that's the case. So Jules, we'll let you have a day off, get some sleep.
Really?
Yes. You don't have to worry about us getting lost and trying to find a Starbucks at Harrah's.
Yeah, Puck guy tried to kill me.
Oh my god, that is not what happened. The Maps app took us to a stairwell that led to a door that didn't have an open handle. Okay, not my fault.
So it took us into a stairwell. Did you process that comment you just made?
Oh, like you've said it, like you've said stuff this whole weekend.
We should finish this. This is getting out of hand. Tell the story.
Landy, you know what? We might have to do a show about Vegas. I
think we just have to at that point. Like we just need to do it. We'll do a show about Vegas.
We'll do it. Yes.
Man, I missed a hell of a party.
Oh my! Taco Bell Cantina at 3 a.m. with myself, Jules, Kevin Lacey, who never.
Oh, and then Lacey got hit on.
Nice. You know what? He does look quite devilish in one of those polos.
Oh,
no, not one of those polos. Well, polos
turtlenecks.
Wears,
I mean,
but also
we tried to convince him to get like a crop, turtleneck.
Yeah,
but it didn't work.
Yeah, the sleeveless turtleneck.
Crop top. Yeah, it was like it was like a crop.
Crock pot. Crock pot. Oh, we'd be in trouble for Deed. Landy, it's good to see you, my friend. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in a very soon while. You can find him at Erik Landi, ERIK, spelled the right way, of course, LANDI, Sharks_Jules, along with myself at PuckGuy14. We will be back with you Tuesday as we can tell you how to plan your life for the next 12 months. So thank you for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. I mean, appreciate it all. Until then, go Sharks, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real, teal, and teal together. And we'll see you later on this week. Have a good night, everyone.